Hello, people of grace. For our Pastoral Connect today, I want to give a little bit of a preview for the sermon this Sunday and a little bit of a review of the last 2 weeks. We have been in 1 John chapter 3. We're going to wrap that up hopefully this Sunday and then begin to explore 1 John chapter 4. And for today's Pastoral Connect, I really want to focus on 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, which says that we need to test the spirits. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see if they're from God. So I want to land on that point today. So by way of a little bit of review, in 1 John chapter 3, we are seeing something that's supposed to create wonder in us. This idea of, that's incredible. And that comes from 1 John chapter 3, verse 1, when John says, dear brothers and sisters, behold, marvel at, wonder at God's amazing love. Behold, what manner of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. So that's an amazing love. That amazing love creates an awesome expectation that when Christ comes, we'll be even more than children of God. What we will be, we can't even imagine. We just know that we'll be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So there's an amazing love, an awesome expectation, and this wonder at that amazing love and awesome expectation creates an inner desire, not a legalistic or a shame or a guilt-based desire, but an inner positive desire for purity. John says, whoever has this hope in himself purifies himself even as Christ is pure. Rodrigo preached last Sunday, though we were snowed out. He uploaded a sermon for us to see that really expounds more on that love of God. And then when you get to 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, and I'll be wrapping up the end of chapter 3 and the first part of chapter 4 this Sunday. But when you get into 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, you get this idea that an amazing love with this awesome expectation and this inner drive for absolute purity becomes an authenticating love. A life of true wonder grounded in the love of God is amazing, it's awesome, it creates a desire for absolute purity, and it authenticates things. It's discerning. Mature faith authenticates not because it has trust issues, that shows our woundedness, and we've all been wounded. And we often say, I'm being discerning, which might be true, but it's driven actually by a sense of threat or insecurity or vulnerability. And threats are real. But when threats play upon our wounds and our vulnerabilities, then we develop trust issues. A mature, authenticating love doesn't have trust issues. Rather, it recognizes that authenticity, legitimacy, being real is what makes loving relationships possible. So it authenticates things. And authenticating love really tests 4 things. It tests the spirits. It tests a lot of things, but I want to focus on 4 things today. It tests the spirits. That's 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. And a spirit, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, and John alludes to many false prophets going out in the world. So a spirit doesn't have to be literally a demon or an angel. It can be just kind of the energy or the direction that something is going in. Is it healthy? For example, I might be discerning because I have trust issues. And rather than pursuing healing, I hide behind being untrusting in the name of discernment. Well, that's not a healthy spirit. We need to test the spirits to see if they're really from God. What is energizing this? The testimony of Jesus energizes prophecy. So we test the spirits. Number 2, we test our context. In Luke chapter 12, verse 56, Jesus rebukes the religious leaders of his day because they could authenticate or test the signs of the weather and things like that, but they couldn't even authenticate or test or discern what was happening with the Christ being right in front of them. It's really important if we're going to have a mature, authenticating kind of love that we are dialed into our immediate context and we are bringing that mature discernment to it so that we act authentically in the context we're in. And a lot of times that means being flexible. Paul had a mature, authentic love for people, and therefore he was very aware of his context and became all things to all people that he might win some. So we need to be sensitive to our context, our environment, and really discern what God is doing in that context. The religious leaders of Jesus' day missed it. So you test the spirits, you test your context, and then you test God. Not test God like tempt God. Test God in the sense of seeing the authenticity or value of God. In Romans chapter 1, verse 28, Paul summarizes the great failure of humanity is that we don't really authenticate or step out and value God. And so our minds become darkened. A mature faith is increasingly experiencing the authenticity of God and how present he is and how real he is, though we cannot authenticate him scientifically. Rather, we are authenticating him by faith and spiritually and valuing that. And when we lose that valuing of God, our mind starts to kind of gnaw on itself. We get stuck and limited by our own awareness, our own reason, our own thoughts and feelings with no anchor for those things. And our awareness and our thoughts and feelings and our reasonings are important, but they need an anchor, and that anchor is God. So, in authenticating mature love, test the spirits, test our context, test authenticates God, and finally, it's always testing itself. We need to be authenticating ourselves. There are many passages that talk about this, but we should all be eager, diligent, hopeful to show that we are authentic followers of Jesus Christ and that we will face any test, any challenge with that desire to be found authentic in our faith and our trust in Jesus, our love for God and our love for people, and in our willingness to serve them both. So let's be authentic followers of Christ in a pandemic, in a time where we've even lost some ability to do limited fellowship because of inclement weather. These things test our faith. But let's be positive and let's be eager to be found authentic and the real deal as people who are taught by Jesus. Authenticity is essential because without authenticity, love cannot really thrive. Let's love God, love people, serve them both, and be authentic followers of Jesus. Have a blessed evening and be encouraged.